Okay, this is the large exterior with equipment, otherwise known as the Sahara Desert. Uh, we've got a very large start line here for a very large area. There's a cone right over there, and that cone connects up with another cone way off in the bottom corner of the screen. There's a big white trailer and some stairs leading up to it. So that's our start line. We could start anywhere we wanted. Um, thing to notice here is we are about, let's see, we're about 2 judges back from the start line. So that's not an exact and standard measurement, but it's a long way back from the start line. Typically it's good to start far back from your start line. If you've got a smaller area, start a few feet back. But that way your dog's hopefully engaged and working before they actually enter the area, so that if anything's at the threshold, you guys can catch it. It didn't work out so well for us because actually right inside the cone there's a metal step thing right there. Well, there was a hide right inside, somewhere on this bottom step, just inside the cone. And a lot of dogs missed it, and Muriel and I were one of those teams that missed this as well. We just blew by it. So let's see how we start here on this area. So we zipped right by it. No interest there. Past that first vehicle. Action camera. Alright, now we're coming along here. So she knew what she wanted to find from the start. So there's a hide here in this little attachment on this front loader here. And she was on that from the start, which was great. Not knowing that there was one we passed, felt pretty good about this. Alright, so we got that one. Past the stack of pallets. This is day 2, so we've already been through hides on the pallet, decoy trash bin in the middle of the search area that had nothing. Alright, so she crossed over and hit this truck, and it drew her right to the front of the yellow truck here. So she's going to work the front of this truck, and we're going to see. Alright, so she alerted in that little hole there. The odor's actually dead center of all those holes, so it's coming out every which way you can think of. She first caught it on the edge of the white truck, bracketed it all the way to the edge of that bumper, and made her decision there. That was a good call, a nice job. So I just did something interesting there that I wish I wouldn't have done, and Ron Gaunt, one of the founders, touched on this in a trial for Student I Know weeks after the Nationals. So I went ahead and had my dog here, and she was probably ready to go this way. So she had an idea, and I had an idea, which was whoop, turn her around and send her off this way. Well, this whole area back here is what we call a DOZ. It's a deodorized zone. There's nothing in there. And she knew it, but I didn't, so I wanted her to search there because it seemed important, like someone would tuck a hideaway there. So I shoot her out there. She wanted to go that way for good reason, but with my body position I kind of asked her to go the other way. Search the corner. Even the camera person thought, oh, they can't possibly go search in the area where there's nothing. Oh, but yes we can. At least she efficiently covers the ground, and at least I'm happy enough with the fact that she did it. So now she hit that lowest tire in the row of stacked tires, and from there she was very determined, and boom, So she was very determined all the way here. She gets just past the odor, which all odors so far she's kind of passed a little bit. Hit the edge of where it's blowing. She hit the edge there. And then she worked past it a little bit to the other edge of where she could catch it. And then she worked up. And she hit it. So very nice job there. Interesting thing to note with a stack of tires like this, the treads, the rubber itself, odor's probably clinging to that a lot more than, say, like the wood pallets or the stack of wood. So she was really able to work it low on either side of the odor, and it was coming down here, and then she was able to get up there and find the source. So that was a nice hide for her to do. Very clear, very easy for me to read. Now she's working the perimeter here, fence, between the fence and a bunch of junk. She's working pretty determined again. She knows where she wants to go, she knows what she wants to find, catches it a little bit on that barrel, but keeps on forging ahead. And as with everything else, she passes the odor and hooks back. And now she's working it a little bit. So this problem was actually a pretty tricky one. It's in the pipe sticking out here. There's this pipe here. And she was all over the ground, catching a little bit there. A lot of dogs had to puzzle this one out a lot longer, probably because what's coming out of that pipe isn't some kind of direct little odor fountain. It's not just spilling out right from their nose to source. Probably coming out and spreading around things, and it's not a direct trail back. So she ended up getting her nose right in there after a sufficient amount of time. She was right in there. And so that was pretty easy to call there. So we got that one. And this time she pretty much chose the direction she wanted to go. She booked right over to this truck. Past the odor. So she hit all the way up here, hooked around all the way up there, past the odor, which is on the back side of the truck here, and worked it back. Same thing she's been doing with every hide out here. You know, you couldn't say it was because the wind's blowing, because she's coming from different directions on these hides. So it's not really that. It's just maybe the way she's covering the ground and the way she's choosing to try and lock these down. She's just using a wider area and running to the edge of the strong scent, what we call like a scent plume or a scent cone, is probably more likely. And she's hitting the edge and working it back. This hide, once we get here, we've got good visual here. So there are these hinges. Whoops. And this door opens up. This door has tubes and hoses inside of it, like a lube truck or something. So right down at the bottom seam of the door, we've got a hide down in the seam. And this hide's not blocked by any kind of weather seal or anything like that, so the odor is escaping and available. And the odor's really escaping to either side like that. So the dogs can go ahead and work the odor along that whole seam. And we'll see her kind of work it and get closer and closer. There we go. So she one interesting thing with this dog and with some other dogs is as they start working, they get really focused and they forget where their footing is. So she almost fell, caught herself. She's pretty much right on it. And that was a good call. So we reward her, and what do I do? Hey, let's go this way. That looked like a piece of dropped food there, unfortunately. So at this point we found one on the little attachment, 2 the front fender of the truck, 3 the stack tire, 4 the tube, and 5 the seam of the door on the back of this lube truck. And so that leaves 6, 7, and 8 to find. And we have a good amount of time left at this point. So 3 odors. I don't know the exact time we have left at this point, but we have a good chunk of time. So we'll see how well we use the time going forward. Just a little bit of foreshadowing. We don't use it well. So really nice snap. This little triangular piece right before the wheel well fender. That's where our hide is, right under that triangular piece, and she snaps to that really nicely. And if you're covering ground quickly, like we were, like I'm trying to actually jog along a little, if you're covering ground quickly, these behavior changes are going to be much more clear when they hit it. I mean, whoop. If you see your dog do a head snap like that to something, you can be pretty confident they're working the right problem.
Alert? Yes.
And now, again, Grabby McGrabberson here. I take my dog and I turn her and say, hey, we're jogging this way, why not keep going? There's actually another odor at the end of this trailer for this big pressure washer machine. So we passed that, and I decided we needed to keep on forging ahead, and I should have just let her make the decision. It's hard because sometimes your dog will just go right back to the odor you just found, but I think I started saying it earlier, Ron Gaunt was of a mind that, you know, the dog should be able to choose the direction they want to go from the one odor to the next. So if you're thinking early training, it's good training to think about how do you get your dog comfortable to move from one odor and to choose the direction they want to go next rather than having to choose it for them. But we didn't train for that so well, so I'm out here steering the ship without a compass. So we'll see if she tries really hard to fight me to the point where she goes around and my whole body positioning, I'm over here in the corner essentially trying to get her to head back that way again. So I'm still pushing her that way, and she tried really hard to wrap around and work the rest of this trailer. So my fault. She got all the way up to this side here, but I really wanted to see her go the other way, and you know, she just kind of went ahead and acquiesced to my request to move on. So now she begins working, blowing and pooling odor in an area that has nothing. And part of this is probably because I wanted her to work this area. Because I'm going deep, I keep shifting myself behind her to try and kind of keep her moving that way. And so a lot of this is just because I'm pushing her there. So at this stage of the game, we've got something like 2 minutes left. And at this point, we only have 2 hides to find. So we're working this whole area here that we just came through, that we went around. Another DOZ. Just no odor here. So we're working this whole area, and I'm not going to go through it in real time, but basically what happens is she goes around looking for stuff. And she's checking, and she's doing a little bit of bracketing. She's kind of going up high, but I'm not buying it. And now she leaves the area. And she does a little more bracketing, and when we do this in real time, you can see it looks like she's trying to get to something. But she leaves the area again. Completely leaves the area. And so here we hit, let's see. So here we hit a 30-second warning, and I decide to just throw the towel in and call it a day. So this other area here, tried to go quickly so we didn't have to sit through the excruciating pain of me wasting 2 minutes after we found 6 hides in probably 4 minutes. We couldn't find 2 hides in 2 minutes. So we had a little trouble, got stuck here. A key to note, this whole area, and definitely this area, she showed some interest there, but one thing she didn't do was she didn't attempt, and I think I write this in the written part of the blog, but she didn't attempt to make a strong effort like she wanted to get close to a source here. She went up, she bracketed left and right of an area, she went up and checked some areas, but it was all very, very kind of measured and calm checking. It was almost subservient checking, like, okay, I have a feeling you want me to look over here in this cluttered shelving and junk, so I'm going to look. And the odor that she hadn't found from the pressure washer could be contributing to some of the reason that she put in so much effort here, because I do believe the wind was blowing this way. So we definitely had some wind blowing that way. So there's a possibility that the odor she hadn't yet found could have been helping her hang here. Don't know for sure. But either way, I pushed it on too long. I should have thrown in the towel and moved her on, and I didn't. But having gone through it, it really showed me some things about, when she's actually working towards a source, like the stack wood hides from the day before or the stack pallet hide from the day before. There's a big difference between that and between what happened here. You can't notice it really when you're in it, but when you're watching it afterwards, you can, and hopefully someday I'll be able to notice it while we're in the search. But we did a good job here, so overall very proud of her.